Hello, my name is Blade, and today I'll be reviewing the Odyssey. I don't think I really need to inform you that much on what this is. It's probably one of the most anticipated movies of the year. Also, the Odyssey is a very old tale. It's Christopher Nolan, his follow-up to Oppenheimer, so I'm here to give my thoughts. Now, normally, if you're new here, I do like a spoiler-free section and then a spoiler section, so you can, skip around if you want to. But for today, I'm gonna go ahead and do a full spoiler-free review because I don't really think anything I have to say involves spoilers. And also, even prior to the movie, I was thinking the Odyssey is quite literally, along with the Iliad, the oldest written story that's been passed down for, quite literally, several upon several years. So, do spoilers really exist with something like the Odyssey? I don't really know. But anyways, I'm going to be proceeding without any spoilers. Also, just gotta say the obligatory, if you're new here and you like what I have to say, you want to hear more things that I say, I do a lot of movie reviews, I do video essays as well, and I make my own film work, so feel free to like, comment, and subscribe. And please do comment, because I actually do like to hear other thoughts. Alright, the Odyssey. Don't really think I have to introduce, but I will nonetheless read the synopsis, which is: Odysseus, king of Ithaca, embarks on a perilous journey to return home after the Trojan War. Crossing the Mediterranean Sea with his fellow soldiers, they soon find themselves battling not only the elements, but an array of deadly obstacles and mythical creatures along the way. It's very classic tale written by Homer. Or I should say like poem, but classic tale story written by Homer. I feel like even if you haven't read it, or if you don't even know that many details, you definitely probably have heard of it at one point or another, but it is finally here to grace our screens. It's graced our screens in different ways before, but I think this is really truly the first big time, huge, like blockbuster, full on, here is the Odyssey on screen. I do always like to kind of touch base on how I went into the movie, because I think that informs my thoughts in the review. So first and foremost, I have to say, I think with other movies that I love, or even my own film work, or just general things I've said on this channel, you might be surprised to learn I actually really love a like Greek mythology movie. I love things in this time period and like mythology and all of that. So I was anticipating it for that. I love things like Immortals and like the original like Clash of the Titans, stuff like that. Also, as far as Christopher Nolan goes, though, I do have to admit it's a little bit of a blind spot for me, because obviously I have seen some of his movies, Oppenheimer and Inception, which Inception I need to like rewatch. I haven't really like fully sat down dedicated viewing, but I'm familiar with the work, but I haven't seen his entire body of work. But I was still nonetheless excited to see what he was going to do with this, as I'm pretty sure a very large majority of us were. But what did I full on think? Well, I'm going to go a little bit off script from the order of things I normally talk about, and I want to talk about the acting first, because there is a star-studded cast. There is a lot of people involved, and like bigger names involved in this, even down to smaller roles, which was a big, I think, talking point around this movie. But I want to talk about three particular actors that I think really like were knocking it out of the park in this, which the first one, and this is one that's been getting a lot of buzz anyway, is Anne Hathaway. I think she does a really good job as Penelope, Odysseus' wife. At the beginning of the movie, I was like, okay, like, this is fine. Like, I don't, like, maybe I'm not going to see what people are talking about. But as it goes on, she does get to show, I think, a decent amount of range. I think some people might view this as, like, just crying or, like, missing her husband. But I think she has some nuances beyond that. And it is a great showcasing, and you really understand where she's at. I also think Robert Pattinson was great. He wasn't like, I don't think he's necessarily a standout role, but I haven't seen him in a part like this before, where he's a little bit more villainous, and there's even just a certain edge to his character too that I haven't really seen him do before. I think he really fulfilled that well, and for such a well liked, respected actor, I'm glad he was able to pull it off, because I did genuinely want to see this character. I didn't want things to go well for him. But somebody who I have not seen a lot of people talking about with the Odyssey, which I didn't even know he was in it, but even after it came out, I have not seen people talk about. Let me not mess up his last name. I always mess up his last name. I'm literally Hispanic. I should be able to do this, but John Leguizamo. I know I fucked it up. I don't. It's something about the vowels in his name and the letter of the orders just jacks me up. But I was really impressed by him in this, and not that I think he's a bad actor or anything. I've liked him before and things, but I really liked what he did in this movie. He was kind of like a mentor slash companion to Odysseus. I can't remember his character name right now. I should have wrote it down, but I really liked what he was serving up in this movie. I think he embodied the role well. There was some emotional beats, and he did seem very stoic, and I don't know, I really liked him in this movie. I thought he had great chemistry with Tom Holland and eventually Matt Damon when he did come on the screen. Now, the other people that I didn't comment on, it's not because I don't think that they weren't great in this movie or good in this movie. I just think, in my personal opinion, the performances for me just weren't anything to write home about. I think Zendaya does a great job in this, but it's not a very talkative role, so there's not a lot to say there. Jon Bernthal, which, first of all, I love Jon Bernthal, but anyways, I can't continue this streak of talking about hot men on this channel. But he's great. It's just nothing, crazy. And then Matt Damon and Tom Holland, I do think are good in this. I think even Tom Holland has a specific scene where he really gets to do some nice acting stuff. But to me personally, it wasn't that it wasn't even great. It was genuinely really good acting. I just wasn't as moved maybe by some of the other performances. Now, that being said, though, Matt Damon did have to carry the movie, and he very much did. I think he carries he does what he needs to do. I just personally didn't walk away from this movie being wow, Matt Damon, Now, following up that, I do want to talk just a little bit about casting, because I don't think anybody was out of place in this movie at all. But there was a lot of people, such as we'll just use Elliot Page or Lupita Nyong'o or even Charlize Theron in this movie, who they were good in the movie, and I wouldn't take them out of the movie. I think they did what they needed to do. I think I really liked Lupita Nyong'o as Helen of Troy. Was that who she was playing? Yes. Anyway. My only, this is not my issue with the movie per se. I just think it brings up the conversation with casting of movies that were I really hope these people were picked because they really brought something to the table in the role, which they did, but it just does beg the question, I really hope this isn't a sign that we're really going down the rabbit hole of only giving roles to bigger actors, when in these smaller roles we could have given opportunities to other people. That's not a critique of the movie, because I don't think that they're misplaced here at all. I would leave them in. It's just an observation I have with these types of movies where every role, even down to the title role, is played by a recognizable face. But moving on from that, I want to talk about the actual filmmaking, and I'm gonna kind of just skim by here, because let's be real, it's Christopher Nolan. That's not to say that a big time filmmaker can't have some missteps or whatever, but that's not the case here. Cinematography is great. The overall direction is great. I have no really. I don't really have anything to say negatively, and I don't really have anything to say that other people are already saying, What I do want to touch upon with the filmmaking, though, is I was pleasantly surprised that this is a movie that is definitely not a horror movie. This is an epic if you will, a drama even. But there are some genuine horror moments. And first of all, not in the places you would expect. Like, I was expecting the Cyclops sequence to probably lean a bit horror, just from the trailers. But there was another sequence involving the witch where I was like, this is kind of like this is like a horror movie a little bit. Not necessarily because of the scenario, but the way that it was shot and gone about. I was like, there was people in the theater who were kind of like, oh my god, like reacting. So I like that he wasn't afraid to have some more like truly like dipping into the actual like presentation of horror in those moments. And I'm wondering if that's why he did recently say he's the Odyssey got him inspired, and so did watching Obsession got him inspired to want to dip his toes into a horror movie. And I'm wondering if it was directing and like editing those moments got him like got that itch going. So I do want to touch upon the writing just a little bit, because I will be honest and say this is not the case for the whole movie. I think once we got to the second and third act, I didn't have this problem. But in the very beginning, the dialogue for me was just a little bit wonky. And not because it wasn't like period accurate. I honestly, that whole conversation for me, that's a subject for a different video. There's lots of different opinions. It's not something I personally noticed while watching the movie. I didn't notice the lack of like period accurate dialogue. But what the beginning, the writing and like the dialogue was a little wonky for me, just a little bit, not anything too crazy, but it felt quite flat for the first maybe 15, 20, maybe even 30 minutes, where it just felt a little like not natural. The conversations didn't really seem to like flow to me. And I'm also wondering if that is more of an editing issue, because that is my other just slight critique on the movie is, once again, in that first 20-ish, 25 or so minutes, the editing was a little off to me. It was basically just the opening and like the exposition part of it I just felt was a tiny bit weird, but not enough for me to like sit here and say that this movie isn't good or anything. But if I do want to just be honest, I did feel that way at the beginning of the movie. My second to last comment is, I think the like I guess this is more of a comment in a way on the writing and the editing. The runtime of this movie, it is a longer film. It's pretty close to 3 hours, but I don't really think you feel that. Like, you definitely, as you're watching it, does feel like it's that long because it's a big, long, epic story, but you don't feel like the weight of that runtime. It doesn't feel like, oh my god, it's still going, you know. There's none of that. I did feel the weight of the end of the movie, but that has nothing to do with the movie. And because I don't know what happened at the theater I was watching it in, the last like 20-ish minutes of the movie, for some reason the quality of the screen projection just got so bad. It got so weird and like kind of like grainy out of nowhere. So that was a little bit unfortunate, because it is a movie that does look good. And on top of that, the end half of the movie is in a room that's a little bit darker lit, so that grainy quality was not the best. But that has nothing to do with the movie and the theater. It's just a fun anecdote. But yeah, I really think the way it flows and moves, especially for such a grand story, like, he really did a good job of, like, that runtime feels earned. It feels like watching older movies that are big, long, and epic like that. It's definitely something I miss in, you know, the mainstream blockbuster, so it was nice to see. And then my very, very last comment is just, I thought the score was great. There was a little bit more of an electronic touch at times that I wasn't expecting, so I liked that. I overall did enjoy the score. I'll have to go listen to it separately, because I was so immersed in the story once it started getting going that I didn't get to fully really like notice it, but the times that I did, I really liked it. So yes, those are my thoughts, comments, critiques, concerns, observations on the Odyssey. I think this is a little bit of a shorter review for me. I mean, I can see on my thing that it's at 16 minutes, but typically I'm already at like the 20-ish minute mark where I've had to pause and restart by the time I get to my conclusion. So, but I just feel like this is one that I can be a bit more concise on, because it's just a well-made movie. But I am glad I found things to actually talk about, because I kind of do have a bit of a disdain for movie reviews that are just like, this is great. Because, like, that sure, that's to be expected, when movies are of this caliber, but I think you should at least try to find, like, explain why it's so great or just something, But anyways, that's a whole other tangent. I think, yeah, overall, Christopher Nolan knocked it out of the park. I think this is like a near perfect movie, and for some people, it probably is a perfect movie, and I wouldn't put up too much of an argument against it. I just have my own personal little tiny little things. But listen, a 4.5 out of 5 or like a 4.97 or whatever out of 5 is still damn good, So yep, that's what I thought about the Odyssey. If you liked the video, like, comment. I would like to hear what you think. Maybe you have some critiques of the movie even, and I would be curious to hear. Like I said, I do a lot of reviews and video essays over here. I make my own film work. In fact, let me just grab it. In fact, my short film Glimmer, I just got to do a little magazine or zine feature of me talking about it and them interviewing about me and stuff for this very independent-based horror zine called Cinemeal. I'll link it below if you want to check them out from the haunt. Oh my god, I just got so tongue-tied. It is from the haunt spot. So thank you guys so much for covering me. I really appreciate it. And you can also watch the movie itself, Glimmer, on my YouTube channel. But that's enough rambling. Nothing else really to say. So I will see you in the next one.